The courtroom was cloaked in a silence so heavy it seemed to press against the walls, a stillness that carried the weight of anticipation and unease. It wasn't merely the absence of sound, but a palpable tension that hung in the air, thick and oppressive, as if the room itself were holding its breath. The faint shuffle of polished shoes on the smooth marble floor, the creak of ancient wooden benches shifting under the weight of a restless crowd, and the low hum of fluorescent lights overhead were barely perceptible. Every eye in the room was fixed on the heavy oak doors at the far end, waiting for something, anything, to break the quiet. When those doors swung open, the atmosphere shifted in an instant. Lisa Grant, 35, strode into the courtroom with a presence that demanded attention. Tall and poised, she moved with the quiet authority of someone who had faced countless challenges and emerged unbroken. Her sharply tailored black suit hugged her frame, the crisp lines accentuating her confidence, while a sleek leather briefcase dangled from her left hand, its weight a reminder of the burden she carried. Pinned to her waist was her badge, gleaming faintly under the courtroom lights, a symbol of her role as a special agent with the Department of Justice, DOJ. Her dark eyes scanned the room, calm and unflinching, as every head turned to follow her. Lisa wasn't just another investigator. She had spent years honing her skills, navigating the murky waters of federal investigations with a precision that had earned her both respect and enemies. Her reputation preceded her. She was known for her relentless pursuit of truth, a trait that had been forged in the crucible of personal loss. Her father, a community activist who had fought for justice in their small hometown, had been killed when Lisa was just a teenager. His death ruled an accident under suspicious circumstances. That tragedy had planted a seed in her, one that grew into an unshakable commitment to uncovering corruption and protecting the vulnerable. Today, she was here to testify in a case that would shake the city to its core, but she could not have anticipated the storm that awaited her. Not everyone in the room welcomed her presence. Sergeant Tom Wallace, a grizzled veteran of the city's police force, stood near the security checkpoint, his weathered face etched with lines of cynicism and exhaustion. With only days until his retirement, Wallace had seen countless faces pass through these halls, defendants, lawyers, witnesses. But when his eyes landed on Lisa, something inside him snapped. His jaw tightened, and his gaze hardened into a scowl. To him, she didn't belong here. Her confidence, her badge, her very presence challenged the unspoken hierarchy he had upheld for decades. Without a word of greeting, he strode toward her, his heavy boots echoing in the quiet. "That ID looks fake," Wallace growled, his voice low and menacing as he squinted at her badge with suspicion. His words dripped with disdain, as if her very existence offended him. Lisa remained unfazed, her expression steady. "I'm with the DOJ. I'm here to testify," she replied, her voice cool and measured, betraying none of the irritation she felt. Wallace's face twisted into a sneer. "No, the DOJ doesn't send people like you in here. You don't belong," he spat, his words laced with a venom that went beyond professional skepticism. Before Lisa could respond, he grabbed her wrist with a grip like iron, twisting it behind, her back with a practiced motion. In a flash, he slammed her against the cold metal security railing, the force sending a jolt through her body. The sharp clatter of her briefcase hitting the floor was drowned out by the metallic click of handcuffs snapping around her wrists. The courtroom froze. Lawyers paused mid-conversation, their pens hovering over legal pads. Court assistants stood motionless, their eyes wide with shock. Even the judge, perched high on his bench, seemed momentarily paralyzed by the audacity of the act. Whispers rippled through the crowd, but Lisa didn't resist. She didn't need to. Her calm demeanor masked a storm of resolve, for she knew something Sergeant Wallace did not. In just 7 minutes, the truth would unravel, and the tables would turn in a way no one could have predicted. Lisa Grant wasn't just a DOJ investigator. For the past 18 months, she had been leading a high-stakes federal investigation into systemic corruption within the city's police department, a probe that had uncovered a web of deceit stretching from street-level officers to the highest ranks. Her briefcase, now lying on the floor, contained encrypted files, video footage, audio recordings, and sworn testimonies that would expose the rot at the heart of the system. And Sergeant Wallace, the man who had just cuffed her, was a central figure in that investigation. His actions today were not just a mistake. They were the final nail in his own coffin. As Lisa was escorted to a holding room, her wrists still stinging from the cuffs, a young officer named Mark Davis approached her. His face was pale, his wide eyes filled with guilt. "I'm sorry, ma'am, I didn't realize," he stammered, offering her a bottle of water with trembling hands. Lisa met his gaze, her expression unreadable. She didn't need his apology. What she needed was justice, and she was closer to it than ever. She took a sip of the water, her mind already racing ahead to the next steps. Across the building, chaos was brewing. A bystander in the courtroom had captured the confrontation on their phone, and within minutes, the video of Wallace slamming Lisa against the railing had gone viral on social media. Hashtags like Justice for Lisa and Our Police Corruption began trending, and news outlets scrambled to cover the story. The courtroom buzzed with murmurs as journalists flooded the lobby, their cameras flashing like lightning in a storm. The judge, his hands tied by the escalating situation, had no choice but to delay the proceedings. But Lisa was undeterred. When she was released from the holding room, she walked back into the courtroom with her head held high, the faint red marks from the handcuffs still visible on her wrists. The atmosphere had shifted. The same eyes that had witnessed her humiliation now watched her with a mix of awe and curiosity. She took the stand, her posture unwavering, and addressed the court with a voice that cut through the tension like a blade. "I've been conducting a federal investigation into systemic corruption within the city's police force," Lisa began, her words steady and clear. Gasps echoed through the room as she inserted a USB drive into the court's projection system. The screen flickered to life, and the voice of Sergeant Wallace boomed through the speakers. "If he looks like a thug, arrest him. Doesn't matter. If he has a record, make something up." The room went still, the weight of his words sinking in like a stone. A mother in the audience, her face etched with grief, covered her mouth to stifle a sob. Her son, a young man caught in the web of corruption, had been arrested without cause, detained for days, and released without so much as an apology. Lisa didn't hesitate. "Exhibit 1A, she declared, presenting a meticulously organized dossier of evidence, timestamps, badge numbers, security footage, and falsified documents used to frame innocent people. Turning to the judge, she said, "I request federal protection during my testimony. I fear for my safety." The judge, once skeptical, nodded solemnly. Protection was granted. From that moment, Sergeant Wallace's career was over. His badge, once a symbol of authority, was now locked away in an evidence locker. He had become the defendant in a federal case, his own words condemning him. But Lisa's fight was far from finished. The next morning, she returned to the courtroom with another USB drive, this one marked with a bold red label. The room was packed, the media glued to every word. "I've filed an emergency motion authorized by the FBI director," Lisa declared. "This includes testimony from a whistleblower and documents implicating Sergeant Wallace in a larger scheme to obstruct justice." The judge gave the go-ahead, and the screen flickered to life once more. The footage showed Wallace in a dimly lit parking lot, exchanging an envelope stuffed with falsified documents and bribe money. "Is this your voice, Wallace?" Lisa asked, her eyes locking onto his. "We own this city," the recording played, his voice unmistakable. Wallace's face drained of color. He shook his head, his voice desperate. "This is a setup. She's lying." But the evidence was irrefutable, and no one believed him. The judge slammed his gavel. "Sergeant Wallace, you are hereby ordered into custody for obstruction of justice and conspiracy to interfere with a federal investigation." As deputies approached, shackling Wallace's wrists just as he had done to Lisa, she leaned in close and whispered, "You didn't think I'd have the last word, did you?" But Lisa's victory was only the beginning. She joined forces with Sarah Thompson, a tenacious civil rights lawyer, and Officer Daniel Richards, a whistleblower who had risked his career to expose the truth. Together, they reopened the case of Officer Marcus Carter, A rookie cop who had tried to expose the corruption before his death was ruled a suicide under mysterious circumstances. Lisa had long suspected foul play, and her investigation uncovered evidence suggesting Carter had been silenced to protect the corrupt network. As the investigation expanded, Lisa uncovered a vast web of corruption stretching beyond the city's borders, implicating officers in multiple jurisdictions. She testified before congressional hearings, her voice steady as she laid bare the systemic failures that had allowed corruption to fester. She worked tirelessly to reform internal policies, advocating for greater transparency and accountability. Sergeant Wallace was sentenced to 22 years in federal prison, a landmark victory in the fight for justice. Lisa's efforts earned her a promotion to head the DOJ's Internal Investigations Unit, but for her, the accolades were secondary. Her true goal was change. Lasting, meaningful change that would protect the vulnerable and hold the powerful accountable. One rainy evening, as she sat across from her mother in their modest kitchen, a photograph caught her eye. It was a faded picture of Lisa as a child, standing beside her father, both of them smiling brightly. Her mother, now slowed by arthritis, looked at her with tears in her eyes. "He would be so proud of you," she said softly. Lisa didn't respond. She didn't need to. For the first time in years, the weight in her chest lifted, not because the battle was over, but because she had won a crucial victory. Her journey was not just one of personal triumph, but a testament to the power of resilience in the face of systemic injustice. Lisa had faced disbelief, hostility, and personal attacks at every turn, but her unshakable commitment to truth had turned the tide. She didn't just expose corruption, she dismantled it, piece by piece, proving that no one, no matter their position, is above the law. Her story sparked a broader conversation about accountability and the need for reform in law enforcement. The whistleblowers, attorneys, and ordinary citizens who supported her were just as vital to the fight, forcing the world to confront uncomfortable truths. Lisa didn't just break the silence, she shattered the illusion of untouchable authority. As she walked away from the courtroom, the rain falling softly around her, one thing was clear. The battle wasn't over, but the fight for justice had just begun.